Hi friends, welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. Today is technically not the end, but I'm going to call it the end of the garden season. So I always like to come down into the pantry, go to the freezers, and see how well my garden produced for me. If you're new to my channel, my name is Kaylin, and my garden is purely for winter Eden. There's not a lot of fresh Eden that typically happens out of my garden. I'm going to talk about how this year went. I'm going to kind of use this as a garden recap, even though the garden is still in and it's still producing quite a lot. It is the middle of September, and I expect us to have a frost within the next 3 to 4 weeks. Our first frost is anticipated always for the first week of October, and I think we're going to be right on schedule this year with that frost. So I like to do a recap to say how the garden produced. So like I was saying, the garden is mainly for winter Eden. So everything I grow with the intention of preserving it to put up to feed me through the rest of the year. I was doing this for I think this is my 5th year canon. I think this is my 3rd year canon to this extreme. So we're going to talk. I have a lot of things to talk about. The things we did differently this year, how everything went. But I also thought this was going to be a good idea to tie into a video that I saw yesterday. So I saw a video yesterday that was this woman had gone to the grocery store and she spent $384. And so she's showing all her groceries. And the point of the video is to explain how expensive food is and how we're kind of being priced out of some of the nicer things that we used to buy. And the comment section of this video, well, first of all, so the video, what she bought, there was 3 24-pack cases of Mountain Dew. There was donuts, and there was chips, and there was different types of Pop-Tarts, and different types of cookies, and different types of some sort, I forget what else. A lot, all of it was processed food. So she bought a lot of processed food, and she really didn't get anything of substance. It's all, here are some snacks that my kids can grab easily. Here are some easy breakfasts. Here are some easy sides. All really processed food. Nothing really fresh. Nothing that she really needed to cook. And what I saw on that counter was honestly a lot of garbage. A lot of things that are just bad for you and don't nourish you at all. And so that kind of got me thinking, and I've kind of been on this rabbit hole for a while, that as a society, we have moved away from the purpose of food. Food, at its core, is supposed to nourish you, it's supposed to feed you, it's supposed to give you fuel. That's the purpose of food. And at some point, hundreds and thousands of years ago, food became an activity. We go to dinner, we go to brunch, we go to breakfast, and our food now no longer is just fuel for us. It is now things that we like to eat. It is things that taste good, things that make us happy. And as we've gone further down that rabbit hole of things that make us happy, we've lost a lot of the things that fuel our bodies and that are good for us. So she's showing all these snacks that her kids can buy, and it's donuts, and it's Pop-Tarts, and it's pre-made cookies, and it's just sugar upon sugar upon sugar. And I'm not even talking about the unknown chemicals and all of that stuff. But it's sugar on sugar on sugar. And it really, that kind of drove home the point that I've been talking amongst my friend group for the past couple of months. We don't view food in the right way anymore. Food at its core needs to just fuel us and keep us going. And you can also enjoy food. I love me some food. No one in my life is going to deny that I love to eat. But we've gotten away from the core. And so when I'm looking at her counters full of just processed food, none of that was fuel. But I'm looking at her counters full of basically, honestly, junk food, easy food, easy for her because she doesn't have to do a lot of stuff in order to feed her kids, right? It's pre-made, easily accessible food. And everyone's talking about how expensive it was and how sad it is that we reached a point where that amount of food, no matter how bad it is for you or not, is this expensive. And I found myself thinking, we've hit a point in society where the processed pre-made food is now luxury. if you are somebody that is struggling to pay your bills, or you're just kind of struggling in the economy. I am a single person. I'm in my house by myself, and I am 100% struggling. The bills they keep piling up, and um, there's no end in sight. um, so I realized this ages ago for multiple reasons, but I think when you realize that you're starting to struggle, paying maybe some bills, maybe your grocery bills are getting out of line, I think we need to kind of go back to what food is at its core. We need to stop buying the processed food, because now that might be, unfortunately, maybe more of a luxury. You can't buy what you used to buy. But I think it needs to be seen also as a blessing. This processed food that is now much more expensive than it was 5, 10, 20 years ago, um, it's not good for us. And I think we're all kind of having this awakening that this food isn't good for us. And so ultimately, the way that I'm able to survive, the way that I am not completely broke, the way that I don't need a second job, is I grow all of my own food and I turn it into what is behind me. And I use this to do a lot of my cooking. Um, I have really drastically changed how I eat over the past 5 years. And I think that's honestly saved me a lot of money. But as I'm kind of moving forward with this thought process of the processed pre-made food is not cost effective at this point anymore. And if you're somebody like me, that's maybe struggling to put enough food on the table, then I think we need to come back. We need to have that conversation of let's start making everything from scratch. And I hear the people that say, I have kids, I have a job, I have so many things to do. I totally understand that. And I've done a couple of videos where I talk about how you can kind of work around that. Um, some ideas, and I'll see if I can't link that video below, but some ideas, like when you make one thing, double it and put it in the freezer. So if you make a batch of lasagna or a batch of tacos, or what else people make? I'm like in macaroni and cheese. Make 2 batches, double what you're already making, triple what you're already making, and put it in the freezer. So just that alone can really help kind of boost what you have in the freezer. You can, when you have time, you can pre-mix and make your pie crust and your biscuit, and you can put them in the freezer and then bake them when you want to bake them. So it's not necessarily cooking completely from scratch isn't necessarily feasible for everybody, but I think we need to start going back to kind of a more happier status, like a happier plateau, just because things are so expensive and they don't seem to get any cheaper. And the food too is awful for you. There's so many chemicals, so many preservatives in this food. It's just terrible. So all of that to say, let's go through the pantry, see what my garden put back for me. I'm going to show you what I have. I'm going to tell you the different things that I do with it, and then I'm going to talk about the freezers. So the freezers are packed. I'll tell you everything I got in the freezer though, and then we'll talk about, did the garden produce what it was supposed to produce. Okay, so this is my downstairs pantry. I have this shelf here, which this bucket's kind of in the way, but it goes the whole way to the bottom. I have this shelf, and then behind you, underneath my basement stairs, I have another shelf that has canned apples, canned peaches, applesauce, apple butter, and caramel syrup. So I have a couple things over there. So like I was saying, my garden is very much a winter eaten garden. So a lot of the stuff that comes out of my garden immediately goes to preservation. I don't typically eat a lot of my produce fresh. However, I've gone into this new system. So I've been canning for 5 years. This level of canning for 5 years, or no, this level of canning I think for 3 or 4 years. But I did something different this year. So last year I busted my butt really, really hard, and I over canned. So you can can a ton of products, and it's not uncommon for people to make spaghetti sauce and they can 50 or 60 quarts of spaghetti sauce. I know what I eat in a year, so I've been able to kind of modify how much I can of certain things to know, okay, if I want to have a year's worth of spaghetti sauce, I need 4 quarts of spaghetti sauce. I don't eat a lot of spaghetti. But last year I pushed hard and I doubled or tripled what I canned. In order so that this year I didn't have to go so hard. And there's a couple different reasons for that. The biggest one was I don't like doing these big cannon days anymore. It's a lot of work. My house doesn't have air conditioning, so having different things going like the stove or the oven or having water pot bathers going, it makes my house hot. And to be quite frank, I don't really enjoy it that much anymore. Um, I'm trying to get a better balance of like relaxing with a book and getting work done. So the big days where I was like, okay, let's do 20 quarts of tomato sauce, and we're gonna do 50 jars of peaches, and we're gonna pickle. I don't really like doing that anymore. I like to spread it out now to like one project a day. So, doing a whole big pressure or a whole big push on Canon last year made this year so much easier. When I had things coming in, I could do them as I needed to. And I'll be completely honest, I've probably done less than 10, maybe less than 15 Canon projects this whole summer. So it's been really good. My push last year definitely paid off. And then another reason I wanted to do the push is in case I had a bad year, in case I had a harvest, in case I had a health issue. I got really lucky this year. I had an appendectomy in January. And so that really laid me up for about 2.5 months. I couldn't lift anything more than 10 pounds. I really had to get my energy back and get my strength back. So I was so grateful that happened in January, so that come garden season, I was back to normal. But had that happened in the middle of garden season, I would have been up the creek without a paddle. And then on top of that, this year I did not have a tomato harvest. I had a tomato harvest, not a good tomato harvest by any means. I really struggled with getting my tomatoes trellised, and that was just ultimately my downfall. They just grew on the ground, they grew into each other. It was not good. So while I didn't harvest the boatloads of tomatoes that I should have, I still was able to get a couple products on the shelf. But knowing that I over canned last year, I know that I'm good with my tomato products this year, moving into next year. And then I was also able to eat more fresh tomatoes. My tomatoes were coming in at like 2 or 3 at a time. So I was able to turn a whole big batch into salsa, which I've never made fresh salsa from my tomatoes. I always turn it into a canned product, or I throw it in the freezer. So I was able to make my own fresh salsa. I ate a ton of tomato caprese salads. I think I ate one of those probably every couple of days. They were delicious. So I was able to do a lot more fresh eating. I did brown butter tomatoes, which is one of my favorite things. I was able to do a lot more fresh eating this year from the garden, knowing that I'd already kind of stocked up my pantry with what I had done last year. So let's start diving into what I have in my pantry and how I use certain things and why I only have so many of some things. So I have 2 different types of barbecue sauce on my shelf. This is a Chipotle peach barbecue sauce. It is delicious on chicken or ribs, so good. And then this is an Ina Garten barbecue sauce. Both of these are super, super easy to make. I'll be honest, this Ina Garten barbecue sauce isn't a Canon recipe. I just made her barbecue sauce and I canned it. Barbecue sauce has a lot of vinegar, and typically vinegar is something that makes Canon safe. And then if you are concerned about Canon, like I used to be very, very scared about Canon, because if you can incorrectly, you can get botulism. Botulism can kill you. If you boil something for 5 minutes, it kills botulism. So if you're at all concerned that this wasn't appropriate, even though it has enough vinegar in it, I promise you it's fine. You could boil this for 5 minutes and it would be safe. So barbecue sauce is something that is so easy to make. And again, this was her, I think I doubled her recipe. And and this was probably about a year and a half ago, I still have 4 half pints on my shelf. Barbecue sauce is something that is so easy. You can start fresh from tomatoes and cook it the whole way down to the end, or you can buy the ingredients. The Chipotle peach barbecue sauce, I'm pretty sure that was mostly made from scratch. There definitely was some added ingredients, but that was with peaches and that was with sugars and that was made from scratch. The Ina Garten barbecue sauce definitely, I think, has some ketchup in it. It definitely has some pre-made things in it. But this is something, so I do love Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. I'm not going to lie, that is a delicious barbecue sauce. But I also say that's a little on the pricier side. And I actually see I have 2 bottles over there of it that I bought before I made this barbecue sauce. For the price of the store-bought barbecue sauce, making it was cheaper. Again, and for me, I'm not going to keep saying this because this is going to be evident for me, but I love knowing that there's no chemicals in any of this food. There's no preservatives. There's nothing else extra in this food. So making my own barbecue sauce, I think, was a fantastic thing to do. And then you could really play with the flavors if you wanted to. I've seen raspberry barbecue sauces, rhubarb barbecue. So you can really play with those flavors. And that's something that would be such a fun winter project. I'd love to do winter cannon when it's cold and snowy and you don't really want to go anywhere. Cannon is a great thing to do. So that could be a great thing to kind of put on your list and can it over winter time. Another tomato product I have is enchilada sauce. I make my own enchilada sauce. I think I made 3 this year. That's last time I made enchilada sauce was 2 years ago. So this is a 2022. This is a 2022. Oh, that's right. No, it's not right. Not right on that one. This is 22. Oh, okay. I don't know actually. I thought I did. Let's say 22. Anyhow, so I did can enchilada sauce this year. I don't see them on this shelf. I'm wondering where I put them. I don't know, but we'll find them. But enchilada sauce is another one that I really like to do. Enchilada sauce, and I'll be honest, I don't make it the correct way. I just put my tomatoes in a roaster oven. I cook them down, blend them, strain all their skins. I did do a video on how to cook tomatoes without peeling them. And then I add spices. Typically a lot of chili powder and cumin are my 2 main spices that I add. I add onions, I add garlic powder, but it's really a chili and cumin sauce. I have tried to make it with the dried peppers, and I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge fan. I just wasn't very successful my very first attempt. However, I think this is delicious. So you can can it. This is a pressure canning recipe, or you can freeze it. And I know I have 1 quart in the freezer of enchilada sauce. So this is something that for regular enchiladas is fantastic. You can do enchilada soup, you can do taco soup. I love to do enchilada casserole. I think enchilada casserole, where you make, instead of like rolling the enchiladas, you just you layer tortillas and meat and beans and cheese in a casserole dish, and you pour over the enchilada sauce, and that freezes really, really well too. These are all things that we're not past the time where you can do this. You can still go to the farmer's market and get a lot of this produce and start putting it up. A lot of it can be frozen if you don't want to can, or a lot of it can just be stored in your freezer until in your fridge until you're ready to use it. Another great thing I did, I did this last year, and I still have quite a few jars of this, is I made tomato bruschetta. And I love this as just a regular bruschetta, but my go-to way to use this is I make a pasta. So I cook some spaghetti, and then I do an olive oil, tomato bruschetta, garlic sauce. So good. So this and this makes a 5-minute dinner. You cook your pasta, you add this to it, olive oil and salt, pepper, garlic, and a little bit of Parmesan cheese. If you have any fresh basil, add some fresh basil, but there is basil in that. That is absolutely delicious. So that cannot be canned or frozen. That needs to be canned. And that is I believe that is, I forget. No, I think that's a water bath recipe. But I forget. Another thing is canned green tomatoes. So you can do canned green tomatoes to make like a fried green tomato, or you can can tomatoes in like a chunky tomatoes or Italian tomatoes or stewed tomatoes. But these are great to have on hand anytime you need to add tomatoes. So even though these green tomatoes I have canned as slices, I can chop these up and use this as like a chunky tomato, as like a diced tomato in any sort of meal. They're green and they are going to be a little pickled at this point, but they would be totally acceptable if I needed to add like a diced tomato, like a soup or something like that. I'm going to keep going along this way here. I have, these are 2 years old. These are zucchini pickles. I only have 3 jars of this left. Zucchini pickles. What I really like about pickles is I have these zucchini pickles that I have a bunch, or I have 3 of, and then I canned a bunch of bread and butter pickles. Look how pretty they are. My pickling packing wasn't the best this year, but that's okay. I love doing it in the wintertime for dinner or when you have parties or something like that. Coming down here and just opening cans and putting out cans. So pickles are a great thing to open. Who doesn't love pickles? Open some pickles. I have jarred hummus. I have coleslaw. I have beets. I have a whole bunch of different jams and jellies. I have canned fruits, and make some sourdough bread, or get some bread from the grocery store, some cheese, some crackers, and that in itself is a fantastic kind of charcuterie board. Kind of set everything that you've been able to can this year, put it out, and have people pick at it. Salsa, corn relish, homemade dips, all of this stuff could easily be turned into so many different things for kind of like, let's celebrate the harvest and kind of just pick at everything that we were able to put up this year. So I do like doing that. So I like having different types of pickles on hand for that reason. Banana peppers, I have 2 batches of banana peppers in the back, and I have one pack of banana peppers in the fridge. I was only able to get 1 quart of my banana peppers so far this year. I've been freezing them as they come in more than pickling, because I do have some. And I didn't feel like canning 1 quart, so I just threw them in the freezer for quick refrigerator banana peppers. Cranberry sauce. I did this 2 years ago. That was delicious. Coleslaw. So I did a whole bunch of coleslaw. I didn't do any of this year. This was coleslaw from last year, so I'm working through that. I did do all of my zucchini relish this year. Zucchini relish is fantastic on I just lost my train of thought. Zucchini relish is fantastic on hot dogs, on sausages, on kielbasa. I haven't found anything that I don't like it on. My favorite way to do it is I get zucchini relish, I get my hot pepper mustard, and I get it's a jalapeno cheddar hot dog. And I think this combination, this is a little bit spicy, this is sweet, and then you have this spicy, cheesy hot dog, I think is delicious. Okay. And then the coleslaw, this is a pickled coleslaw. It's made from cabbages and carrots. Again, even if you're not growing this stuff, go to the store and buy it. Still, don't feel like you can and you can't put up food just because you haven't grown it. Go to the farmer's market, even go to the grocery store, and still put it up. You're still saving on all the yucky stuff that's in the stuff that you're going to buy from the store. You're still doing your family a benefit. But this is a pickled coleslaw that you can make as a regular traditional coleslaw, add in mayo and some spices and make like a regular mayonnaise coleslaw. But this I think is fantastic on Italian subs. So good on Italian subs. I put this in shrimp and fish tacos all the time. I make egg roll bowls with like ground pork and what else I put in it? It's egg roll bowls. It's ground pork, coleslaw. I'm blanking. I haven't made egg roll bowls, or what I make in the wintertime a lot, and I haven't made one in a while. And now I'm blanking. I think there's rice. I forget what is in an egg roll bowl. I need to remind myself what it's in them, because I need to start making them soon. But I put them in there. I put this coleslaw in there. And I also put this coleslaw in like a shrimp bowl, like a poke bowl. It's really delicious. I will say this year I went, and I still might do some more cannon with cabbage. I would need to buy it though, because I don't have any more cabbage coming in from the garden. I did this coleslaw very fine, whereas the last one I did, and I don't have any more, I ate it all, I made much bigger and it was chunkier. And like the cabbages and the carrots were quite large, to the point that I was like, oh, this is too large. However, when I did like the egg roll bowls, I liked it because you got like a big piece of pickled cabbage and a big piece of pickled carrot. So I like the finer coleslaw, definitely for my tacos, and for like on my Italian sub. But I think I might do a couple jars of like a heavier shred, maybe just a sliced cabbage coleslaw, for times when I want like to get a big piece of cabbage. It is delicious. Speaking of cabbage, I also have sauerkraut. I did a lot of sauerkraut this year. I did 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 jars of sauerkraut, and I might also do some more sauerkraut because my family likes to eat sauerkraut a lot. We actually just had some of it this weekend, so I think I might do some more sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is when you make it fresh, it is so good for your gut health. It's a fermented product, and it's so good for your gut health. When I can it, I get rid of a lot of the nutritional benefit of sauerkraut, but it makes it shelf stable, which I really like. Um, and this is something where a little bit of cabbage goes a long way. So I like one cabbage. I think I got 9 jars from like 15 pounds of cabbage, which I think was 3 cabbages. So cabbage can go a long way. So that's something that you can make, put on your shelf. Pork and sauerkraut and mashed potatoes is my favorite way to eat it. Pork, hot dog and sauerkraut, also very delicious. You can use this in an egg roll bowl. You could do like rice, sauerkraut, ground beef kind of bowl I've seen people do. So sauerkraut it's easy to make. It's hands off. It takes 2 weeks to ferment, or 2 to 3 weeks to ferment, depending on your taste. Not scary at all. I was intimidated the first time I made it. It's not scary or intimidating at all, but it's something that can go a long way. Staying on the shelf so I don't forget it is I have baked beans. This is another product that I make over the winter time, and I grow the beans, and I don't remember if these were my homegrown beans or not. I supplement from the grocery store, so I don't remember. But anywho, I do grow beans, but then I turn them into baked beans. And this is something that the bag of beans is so cheap to buy that you can cook them up, add your flavor into them, and can them up. You can make them taste exactly the way you want to taste. And they are, you get them for so much cheaper. I know a can of baked beans at the store right now, I think it's like 3 something. I think so I got that for pennies on the dollar to make those jars of baked beans, and again, I know exactly what's in them. I love to can veggies. If you can buy veggies in bulk, or if you can buy veggies in sale or on sale, buying them in bulk and putting them up is a great way to build up your pantry and make them go further so they don't go bad as fast, and give you something you can come down and grab when you need a quick, easy weeknight dinner. I have potatoes, Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes. I'm going to skip a couple things but I'll come back to green beans and carrots. So you'll see I only have 3. I have 4 pints of carrots. My carrots I do buy from the grocery store. I buy from the local Amish farm market. And that's what I put up for my carrots. I have 4. I personally, I have 4 pints right now. I personally don't like canned carrots as a side on their own. I was so excited about the prospect of canned carrots. I don't like them as a side on their own. So my canned carrots are strictly for soup or for like stews or casseroles, like pies. Like I do it like a chicken pie. I put it in that, and that tastes delicious. But I don't like the carrots as a side on their own. But this is something that as we get into fall, I didn't grow. I'm growing carrots for winter eating, but I didn't grow carrots up to this point for storage. So I will go buy some carrots from the grocery store and supplement that with the grocery store. I have 1 quart of green beans. My green beans have just started coming in, and my first way that I like to eat my green beans is I like to eat them from a frozen state. I do like to eat them fresh, but I have no green beans in the freezer, and that's the only green beans that I have in my house. So right now, as the green beans are coming in, they're going right in the freezer. And then to cook them, I literally take them off the vine, I put them in a bag, put them in the freezer. Then to cook them, I let them thaw completely, and then I boil them and then saute them. I do like to have canned green beans on the shelf. The same applies as the carrots. I don't like them as a side by themselves, which is why I am more so interested in getting green beans for the freezer. Once I get a solid amount, I think at this point I have 6 bags of green beans in the freezer. Once I get enough where I'm like, okay, I'm probably looking at like around 15 bags of green beans in the freezer. That should last me all winter. Once I get that in there, then I will start putting some of them into quarts for canning. My favorite way to eat canned green beans is canned green beans, canned potatoes, and the Lipton French onion soup mix. That is delicious. So that is what I still need to get canned up this year. I'm confident I'm going to get enough green beans for that, as long as you don't get a super early frost. But I just haven't gotten enough to do that project yet. So this we are still waiting on. Sweet potatoes. I have 3 quarts and 1/2 pint or 1 pint of sweet potatoes. Um, I haven't harvested my sweet potatoes from the garden yet. They are still out there. I'm going to harvest them in 2 weeks. And then a lot of them I will. So, and the same with my sweet potatoes and my potatoes. I have already harvested a lot of my potatoes. I will let them cure and kind of sit out in my pantry for a while. I turn them into canned products once they start going soft or once they start trying to grow eyes. So this is not something where I pull the sweet potatoes out of the ground and then I can them up. I do wait until they've started to go a little bit softer. They've started to show signs that they're getting too old. And then if I can't eat them fast enough, I can them in as white potatoes, sweet potatoes, or you could also shred them and freeze them into like hash browns. So I still have 4 quarts of potatoes on the shelf from last year. I have a whole big bowl of potatoes that I harvested in July, and I have more potatoes in the garden this year. So my garden has definitely given me enough regular potatoes. I have no idea what I'm going to get from the sweet potato aspect of it, but I'm very excited to see what I get. I think this is going to be the best sweet potato harvest ever, and I'm so excited. Brussels sprouts. I've never been successful growing Brussels sprouts. They say very small and not worth messing with. So my Brussels sprouts, these are a balsamic Brussels sprout, absolutely delicious. These are store-bought. So I have 1 quart, no, I have 2 quarts and 2 pints. Come fall, I'll go get a couple more stalks of Brussels sprouts and I'll throw a couple more Brussels sprouts into jars. And again, the canned, the Brussels sprouts, the frozen green beans, the sweet potatoes, the potatoes, and then I still have other frozen items in the freezer. That's how I eat my side dishes in the winter. So I come down, I open a jar of Brussels sprouts. That's my vegetable side. I get a bag of broccoli or green beans or a side of peppers from the freezer. That's my vegetable side. So these items, between both canning and freezing them, that's how I don't buy produce from the grocery store. That's how I can kind of continue to eat what I was able to grow or supplement when it's in season. Supplementing when it's in season and from a local vendor that you know is always the better way to do it if you can't grow it yourself. So I really prefer, like with these Brussels sprouts, to buy them when they're in season. They're much cheaper, and I buy them local so I know how they were grown. Also in here, I have a couple hot sauces. If you are a hot sauce connoisseur and you've never made your own hot sauce, now is the time to try it. And from my experience, hot sauce, you make a big batch and it lasts me forever. This is a Sugar Rush Peach hot sauce I made 3 years ago. And this is the only pint or the only half pint that I have left because I've gifted it because I am so afraid to try it. I haven't opened this yet and I'm not giving this away. I will try it. I'm just scared. And then I made Tabasco. I honestly made Tabasco probably 4 years ago, if not 5 years ago. And I still have my initial jar in the fridge. So you can tell how often I don't eat Tabasco. That doesn't make any sense. I still have my initial jar of Tabasco in the fridge from when I made this, I think like 5 years ago, because I'm not a huge hot sauce person. But if you are, make it. It goes a long way. It's super easy to make, and again, you can really play with the flavors. I think that's a great thing that you can make ahead of time. Super easy to can. It's very vinegary, so quick water bath is all you need to do for it, and it's easy and delicious. And then you can also control your heat level too. I have down here, I have a whole bunch of chili base. I really like this chili base. This is what I didn't have any of coming into the harvest season this year. And now I have 2, 4, 5 quarts of chili base. This is great. This tastes delicious. When I made this, it tastes so good. When I make chili, I just have to open this jar. I have beans up here. I'll grab a jar of red beans, and then I'll cook up some ground beef, and I'll add some ground beef, and that is dinner. I already have my cornbread mix in the pantry. We just did a video where we restocked the pantry, so I've already restocked my cornbread. And so that can be a quick and easy dinner in less than 5 minutes. Chili and cornbread. You can't beat it. So I do love having chili base on the stove. Because I didn't have a great tomato year, I only got 5 quarts. When I do chili, I do 2 quarts at a time. And I do know my New Year's tradition, my new New Year's Eve tradition, is I cook chili over the fire. So I spend the evening around the fire cooking chili. I'm not a partier. I don't really want to go out, and I don't really want to be on the road with everyone else who's been drinking all night bringing in the new year. So my favorite thing to do is just sit outside with a fire and cook some chili. So I know that I'm going to use 2 quarts for New Year's Eve. So I already kind of had them earmarked for New Year's Eve. That leaves me 3 quarts left. So I would have liked to have more chili base going into next year so I didn't have to make more next year. But I guarantee that's something I'm going to need to make again next year to refill my shelves. And that's something I want to be mindful as I'm starting to use all this stuff. I want to make sure that I'm not, so like I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 7, 8. I have 8 quarts of spaghetti sauce. I'm never going to go through 8 quarts in a year, but I want to make sure I'm not eating spaghetti after spaghetti after spaghetti after spaghetti, so I don't get to next season and have no spaghetti sauce. I want to make sure I'm kind of alternating what I eat so I don't completely run out of something and then go into the garden season praying I get enough tomatoes to replenish that product. So I do kind of manage what I eat and how I eat to make sure that I don't run out of something. So the chili base, we're going to have to watch. And again, we're going to know going into the garden season, I'm going to either completely run out of it or I'm going to be very low. I probably will save 1 quart just in case I have the hankering for chili. But we'll definitely need to make some more next year. This is a winter project we haven't, well, we're not in winter, but we're going to do this winter is we need to make some more hot dog chili. I made this in February of 22, and I have 1 pint left. This is delicious as chili dogs, but I also love, and this sounds weird, but it's good, to take this chili dog sauce and put it with sweet potatoes and a little bit of sour cream. That is, I think, a delicious winter meal. It's like chili on potatoes, but you have a little bit of sweetness with the sweet potatoes. People think it's weird. I really like that. I think that's delicious. So that for me is another go-to meal. So I only have one of those left. We need to make some more. This is another winter project. I don't know if I'm going to do because I have 4 quarts of this, but we might do this in winter, see how we feel. This is French onion soup. So I don't grow enough onions for this, so I do buy my onions, but this is onions with beef broth and a whole bunch of deliciousness into French onion soup. And I love this as just French onion soup, but I also love this when I get sick. The beef broth this is such a good thing to eat when you're not feeling well. So I always have at least a quart of that on hand just in case I would get sick. This is something I can easily cook for myself if I'm too sick to really do some real cooking. So that's something also, again, really cheap to make. Onions, beef broth, maybe a little bit of red wine, some spices. Very, very easy and delicious to make. The next thing I did this year, and I did have to buy these, but it was worth it, is Vidalia onion jam. So I love Vidalia onion jam. I used to buy it from the grocery store. Decided one year I was going to make some. So I bought some Vidalias from the farmer's market, and I turned that into Vidalia onion jam. Super easy. It's like a 15-minute project. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 half pints of that on the shelf. And that is my favorite way to use that is on burgers. It's just dynamite on burgers. And then we already talked about my pickles. I definitely got more than enough pickles this year. So this might be 2 years worth of pickles. It's good too because I don't have a huge garden. So if I don't have to grow something one year because I've already canned it. So like if I'm going into next season and I have plenty of pickles, then I don't need to grow pickles next year. I can kind of skip them and save that space and turn that space that would have been pickles into something else. I did peaches this year. I forgot. My peach trees gave me 2 peaches for the first time ever. So that was super exciting. So these are, I'm not to the point where I'm growing my own peaches yet. So these are store-bought peaches or farm-bought peaches. So I was able to get a whole bunch of peaches canned. I like to eat them just as this. I love to put an oat crumble on top of these and bake them. Delicious. Put them on ice cream. Delicious. But you can also turn this into so many things, like peach sauce, peach jam. You could can these now or freeze these when they're coming in season and then process them at a later date. So I canned a whole bunch of peaches. And then for the first time ever, I did do a beautiful peach sauce. This was supposed to be a peach butter, and I didn't get there because it just tasted so good. I just canned it as is. This is a peach sauce on chicken. It's with balsamic vinegar. So good. I'm on ice cream and yogurt, on baked oatmeal and cookies. This stuff is liquid gold. It's so good. But if you don't have the time to make this, you could just freeze or can your peaches when they come in, and then you could turn them into this later. Again, we're still in September. You can still go get all of this stuff and get started with it now. You're not too late. Now this section, we have a couple different things. I have my spaghetti sauce, lots of spaghetti sauce. I have corn syrup. This is something I did. Oh, this is old. No. Okay. Well, some of it is. I have three pints from 21, and then the rest are from 22. This is corn syrup. You take corn cobs and you cook them down until you get corn syrup. And this is what I use as a maple syrup replacement. And what I need to get better at, I need to really, really get better at this. Between my corn syrup and my dandelion jam, these need to start being used as my sugar replacements. So instead of using sugar all the time, I need to start pulling one of these two things into my sugar. And what I think I'm actually going to do is I have a lot of this, is I'm going to take this upstairs, and I normally put molasses in my coffee. I think I'm going to put some corn syrup in my coffee tomorrow and see what I think about it. I think that might be really good. Corn syrup, when you make it, is so delicious. It's delicious. So I think that might be really good in some coffee. We have our salsa. We did 2, 4, 6, 8 pints of salsa. This was the easiest sauce I've ever made. It was just roasted tomatoes, and I threw everything in a blender. Tomatoes, cilantro, onions, garlic. Super easy, super quick. So I have 2, 4, like I said, I have 8 pints of that. That will honestly probably last me till winter or till spring. But I will definitely need to do some more of that next year, again, just because I didn't have a huge tomato harvest. I planned on making this year, and I still may. I have 4 pints of this honey pepper mustard. I still may make more of this year. We're going to see. I have banana peppers coming in like crazy. This is delicious. This is a spicy mustard made with banana peppers. It's great as a pretzel dip. Just dip pretzels in here, dip cheese in here. My favorite way to eat this, though, is I take chicken thighs and I marinate chicken thighs in this, and then I cook the chicken thighs. When the thighs are cooked, I get them out in the pan. I add maybe a tablespoon more of the mustard, and then I add milk. And I make this delicious gravy. I add maybe some salt and pepper and make this delicious gravy from all of the chicken bits and from the mustard itself. That is plate licking good. Like, I will pull up the plate and like lick the plate because it's so good. So that is one of my favorite ways to enjoy this mustard. And then for the first time this winter, I also made my own Dijon mustard. So this was a process. I don't honestly know if I'd ever do this again or not. But it was definitely a fun winter project, and the jury's out if I would do this again, though. Cowboy candy. My jalapenos have definitely given me enough of cowboy candy. I have 2, 4, 6 pints, and I have a ton of jalapenos frozen in the freezer. So for my cowboy candy, I do a ton of things. I am out of my cowboy candy marinade. Wait, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I lied. I have 4 pints of cowboy candy and 2 pints of the cowboy candy marinade. The cowboy candy marinade is delicious. So my jalapenos have definitely given me more than enough to do some more cowboy candy. But that, again, is also in the freezer, and that's going to be a winter project. Just because I need stuff to do in the winter, and the summertime I have things to do, like sitting outside and soaking up the sun. This was the year of jam. And I'll tell you right now, I've already screwed up. So I've made a ton of jam. I did a ton of my raspberry jam. I did some half pints of raspberry jam or quarter pints. And then I also, no, that's not the same thing. No, yeah, I just did quarter pints of raspberry jam. I have a ton of that. Ton of that. I did blackberry jam. I have a good amount of that. Like I said, I had the peach butter. And then and here's where I messed up. I did strawberry jam, and I have 4 pints of strawberry jam left. Four. So I do have frozen strawberries in the freezer. I have all of these berries frozen. I have blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, all frozen in the freezer. And again, I do that so when I run out, I can easily make more jam. I'm gonna tell you right now, some of that frozen strawberry is gonna get turned into more jam because I know 4 pints is not gonna be enough. I'm good on all the other jams, but definitely strawberry we're gonna need to make another round of. And then last winter, I made a delicious mixed berry jam. I got all the berries from my freezer, dumped them into a pot, made this jam. I have 2 of these left. And I will tell you right now, that is delicious. So that's something we typically do at the end of winter, going into spring. I empty the freezers as much as I can to make room for new produce and new harvest. And so that's something that when I do that, I take whatever berries I have left, throw it into a pot, and make some jam. So with the jam, I use it on bread and toast and croissants, the normal things. I put it in yogurt. I put it in baked oatmeal. I put it on French toast or in French toast. I use jam from Monte Cristos. It is one of my favorite things that goes so far from me. So this may not seem like a lot of food, and we haven't talked about what's out in the freezer right now either. This may not seem like a lot of food, but when I tell you this is how I eat, this is how I eat. I'll come down and I'll grab the coleslaw for tacos, and I'll make some tortillas, cook up some shrimp, add some coleslaw, and make a mayo sriracha. Make my own mayos. Make my mayonnaise, and make my own sriracha. Or we didn't talk about this. I just did this. We just posted this video where I make my own chili sauce. So honestly, what I do is I do the shrimp or tortillas, coleslaw, the mayo, a little bit of sriracha, and more so chili sauce. That's a great thing. That's a great meal. I said about the chili and the sweet potatoes, the potatoes and the green beans. These potatoes are just good as like a hash brown. The pickles are delicious. Another thing, tortillas, ground beef, pickles, and ranch. Super simple, super easy, but super delicious. I have my own beets up here. Beets make a delicious side. They're homegrown. They're a delicious, I was like, what is this? That's fine. Delicious side. Salsa, hamburger, pasta, Velveeta cheese, and salsa makes a delicious kind of like salsa macaroni, which is really yummy. You can throw in your own hot sauce. You can throw in cowboy candy. Delicious. Of course, I talked about the enchiladas, the spaghetti sauce. That's great for spaghetti, for lasagna, for any sort of red sauce. I do use that if I want to make. I don't make pizza that often. You can make your own pizza sauce, but if I was in a bind, I would just open that jar of spaghetti sauce, cook it down a little bit more till it's thicker, maybe add some more spices to it, and then use that as my pizza sauce. So that gives me some versatility. I have we didn't talk about, I have pineapple jelly. No, I have more. I was like, I don't have enough of this. I got to put more up on the shelves. I still probably will. I only have 5 half pints, and I use pineapple jelly a lot. Not pineapple jelly, pepper jelly. Pepper jelly a lot. I put this on whenever I make a grilled cheese. I make paninis. I make delicious paninis with a good, nice, crusty sourdough, some cheese, some honey pineapple mustard, and I did make my own Dijon. So this winter, when we do our own paninis, it'll be all with our stuff. And then some pepper jelly. It is sweet and spicy and just so good. That pepper jelly is also good on cream cheese. That's a very 80s dish. But cream cheese and crackers, or get a nicer cheese and put the pepper jelly on the on the fancier cheese with some crackers. That's delicious. I'm trying to think. I know there's something else I use it for. I can't remember what it is though. Mix it into like a cream cheese dip. It's again, the options are endless. So once you kind of get started on this pantry, once you see the options, oh, and I missed a whole row. I have curries. I have curries. I didn't do any of this year. I don't know if I'm going to or not. This is my green tomato curry. I made this 2 years ago, and I still have 4 pints of this left. This goes a long way. So what I like to do is I like to grab my green tomato curry. I like to grab a jar of chicken, canned chicken, and then cooked rice. Dump these two together, let them cook, add rice, 5-minute meal. Oh, I also didn't talk about this. Did I do any of these? I did. I didn't. I didn't. This is tomato soup. I did a whole big push for tomato soup last year. This is delicious. When I use that, I like to do grilled cheese with it, obviously, but I take that tomato soup, I add pepper jack cheese, and I add milk, and I make like a roasted pepper, spicy tomato soup. So good. Um, so I have that canned, and then I will say one of my favorite things is when I rip my tomato plants out. I take all the green tomatoes off the plants, I put them on my counter, and as they ripen, I throw into a pot and I make tomato soup. So during the fall, I make fresh tomato soup probably 8 or 9 times. It is so good. There is nothing like fresh tomato soup. And it's so much different than the canned tomato soup that I do. It's so much fresher and lighter and thinner. It's just delicious. But I do like to have my own canned tomato soup on the shelf. It is really delicious. Then last year, then I also did a salsa verde. Last year I did a salsa verde with tomatillos. And the year before that, I did a salsa verde with just green tomatoes. So there's a lot on this shelf that, like I said, and you've heard me say a lot of this is 1 or 2 years old, and that is done purposefully. So like I said, this year I haven't had to do too much. Let's go through what I've put on the shelves so far this year, and you'll see that it's not actually been that much. So sometimes people talk to me and they say, how are you able to do all that you do? And it's the way that I've kind of planned it. I worked really hard last year, so I don't have to work as hard this year. What I've put up on my shelf so far this year is I did a whole batch of jams and jellies. I did a lot of that. I did all of my salsa for the year. I did all of my bread and butter pickles for the year. I did a lot of beets. I did all of my sauerkraut. I did all of my chili base. I did all of my peaches. I did my Vidalia onion jam. The onion jam and the peaches were store-bought. And I think that's all. And I did the peach butter. I think I said that. That's all I've done this year so far. What we still have on the list that we may do is we may do another thicker coleslaw. We may do, I have more tomatoes frozen. So we have another tomato project coming. I don't know what that is yet. We are probably going to do another round of pepper jelly. We definitely have more jam we're going to make. Store-bought items, we're going to do some more balsamic Brussels sprouts. We're going to do some more onion soup, French onion soup. And we are going to do more hot dog chili sauce. So, I think that's enough for down here. We've been down here for almost an hour. So, let's go upstairs. We're going to talk about what I have in the freezer and then how the freezer gets turned into so many different things. Okay, now let's talk about everything I've put into the freezer. So I just went through the freezer and I did a whole big organizing effort to get everything organized and then to kind of identify what I have in the freezer. So far I have 6 bags of green beans that we are adding to every other day as my green beans are coming in. I'm picking them like crazy. So I have 6 bags of green beans in the freezer. I have a ton of peppers in the freezer. Peppers are still really coming in. My banana peppers, my jalapenos, my orange yummies, my bell peppers, they're really coming in. So I'm doing a whole bunch of different things with my peppers. I am taking the banana peppers and I am slicing them. I'm taking the bell peppers and I've done a couple things with my bell peppers. I have both diced and sliced bell peppers for future use. And I've also cut them and kind of frozen them in the halves so that I can stuff them. I made a really delicious this year jalapeno popper stuffed pepper, which was delicious. And so I'm thinking if I take some of these bell peppers and slice them and freeze them in the half form, I could have stuffed bell peppers over winter. So I've done that, and then I have the sliced peppers and the diced peppers for anything else I want to use peppers for. Peppers are expensive when you buy them in the winter, but they are so easy to grow. So they're definitely one of my top things that I buy to freeze. And then if I ever need a red pepper, I just go to the freezer. I also like to take my orange yummy peppers, my little orange snacking peppers. I think they're called lunchbox peppers. I take those and I cut the top off, cut them in half, de-seed them, and then I put a piece of pepper jack cheese in them and I roast them with a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of salt. And that's a side dish one day. That's a quick, super easy, super delicious side dish. And the orange yummy peppers are really starting to come in like gangbusters right now. They will go hard from now until my frost. So as they're coming in, I'm banking them and putting them in the freezer. I also have a ton of jalapenos coming in. I already said I'm freezing jalapenos for the cowboy candy, but I also like to freeze them and turn them into jalapeno poppers. So I make the jalapeno poppers like I would any other day. I just flash freeze them on a baking sheet in the freezer. Once they're frozen, put them in a bag, and then when I want to eat them, I just put them on a baking sheet and we bake them. That is a super easy like party dish if you're into football. The jalapenos are super easy. They're super cheap right now. They're coming in like gangbusters. If you know someone that has a garden, I guarantee you they're probably overrun with jalapenos. Now is the time to get them, make your jalapeno poppers, and then put them in the freezer to just cook from frozen whenever you need them. And then I do a pepper side dish. So the banana peppers that I sliced, I add sliced okra to them. I add onions to them. And I like to do that as just a pepper side dish. It's just peppers, onions, and okra. And I can flavor that however I want. A lot of times I just do olive oil, salt, and pepper. Sometimes I do some different spices. Like I have a delicious garlic herb spice I really like. But that pepper side dish, or that pepper jumble, is a side dish on its own. And that's 100%. No, I guess this year it wasn't. I'm buying onions. So the okra is 100% mine and all the peppers are 100% mine. But I am buying the onions this year. But typically when I grow my own onions, I just was too lazy and I forgot to order onions this year. But when I grow my own onions, I add the onions as well as the onion tops into this pepper packet because the onion tops just give it so much flavor. And with garlic tops. That reminds me, I need to decide if I'm going to plant garlic this year or not. Because I love the garlic greens. I never am super successful with the garlic, but I love the garlic greens. So we haven't decided what we're doing there yet. Got to figure that out. Another thing I freeze that I didn't have great success with this year is I didn't get any harvest of broccoli. I had a huge slug issue, and I actually still have a slug issue. I'm now seeing slugs all over my property. So I'm hoping, I need to do some research. I'm hoping maybe a hard winter would kill the slugs. I don't know, but I lost all of my brassica plants due to slugs. So typically I grow all of my own broccoli for the freezer. For the past 3 years, all of my broccoli has been grown by me. All the broccoli I eat in a year was 100% homegrown. And this year it is not. This year I didn't get any to eat or put back. The slugs ate it all. So I did go to the farmer's market, our local Amish, it's actually a local Amish grocery store, and I bought broccoli from them and I put them back. So I'll be completely honest. Normally broccoli, the vegetable side dishes that I have in the winter are typically broccoli, green beans, or the pepper side dish. The pepper kind of jumble. I'll be completely honest. The broccoli was a little bit more expensive than I wanted to pay to put back a whole bunch. So I think I only got about 8 bags maybe of broccoli for the freezer. So this winter we're going to need to really kind of ration our broccoli. I could always go buy it fresh. I could. Not fresh, but from the grocery store. I just really try not to do that. But if you are growing broccoli or you're at a farmer's market that has broccoli freezes really, really well. Blanch it for 2 minutes, freeze it before you use it, defrost it completely. It works great from defrosted. I also freeze my own snap peas. So my peas come in the spring, and I do have peas growing in the garden. Whether they get big enough that they produce beans for me, or peas for me, I don't know yet, but I'm hoping. But I do also freeze my own peas. So I got, I think, 5 quart bags of peas for the freezer. So that'll be a delicious side dish. It's the same thing as the broccoli. I blanch it and then I defrost it completely, dry it completely before I roast it. Oh, so I think those are the main vegetable side dishes that I put in the freezer. Um, when I go to the farmer's market, if I see a good deal on onions, buy the onions, chop the onions, and put the onions in the freezer. That's another great way to kind of make future you happy because you have already prepped frozen onions. So I think. Oh, and then I also have from last year's fall harvest, I still have a bag of shredded potatoes. So I'm getting ready to go out of town, and when I come back from out of town, I'm gonna make a hash brown casserole with those potatoes. Because I have a big bowl of potatoes from this year's harvest, and I have more potatoes in the garden that I'm gonna need to harvest. So I'm going to need to start using up some potatoes. When the zucchini is coming in, I love to do zucchini bread. That's bread freezes great. So I do a zucchini bread, chocolate zucchini muffins. I love having those in the freezer. I love them because I'm getting ready to go out of town. I'll grab a bag of those chocolate zucchini muffins and I'll take them out of town with me. So it's a sweet treat when I'm out of town. It's a chocolate fix when I'm out of town. I don't have to go out to the store and buy something homemade that I can take with me. And then I do the breads. So in case I would have somebody come over or a random I had my appendix out in January, like I said, and my one girlfriend wanted to come over and just spend some time with me while I was recuperating. And I needed to feed her, regardless that I just had surgery. I needed to feed her. So I was able actually to go get a frozen meal I had already made. I was able to go get one of these frozen zucchini breads, and that was just warmed up, and that was a delicious dessert to our meal. So even though I had just had surgery and I wasn't able to cook, I was still able to provide a completely home cooked meal that I just prepped ahead of time. My raspberries were coming in. I made a whole bunch of mini loaves of raspberry lemon pound cake. I just pulled one out last week and I ate one last week. I pull one of them out and I add a little bit of a lemon confectioner sugar glaze to it. And then again, a little quick sweet treat, completely homemade. It's my raspberries. So that was the first time I ever made that this year. But you could also do it if you have any berries that you've already frozen in the freezer. You could get them out, thaw them, and turn them into a bread or some sort of cake, and then put that right back in the freezer for future use. So I'm thinking in the middle of a snowy day to have a fresh raspberry pound cake that you made on a beautiful, sunny, gorgeous day. It'll really remind you of that summer day when it's snowing all around you. So I'm really excited to enjoy that in the wintertime. Going back to the zucchini, I also do a zucchini fritter. You can really kind of play with this however you want. I do just a zucchini fritter, shredded zucchini, breadcrumbs, cheese, salt, pepper, crushed red pepper flakes. But you could add corn to it and do like a zucchini corn fritter. I've also done where I've made a crab cake, but instead of using crab, I've used shredded zucchini, so it's like a mock crab cake. And that's delicious. So again, the zucchini, especially right now, the zucchini is still coming in like gangbusters. Zucchini is coming in. Go buy it, shred it, turn it into these zucchini cakes. I do cook them completely and then freeze them, and then we cook them from a frozen state typically, and they are a delicious, delicious dinner. So a lot of times I'll pull out one of the zucchini cakes. I'll pull out a side of peppers. And then that's my dinner, maybe with a starch or something, but then that's my dinner. And the zucchini cake is homegrown by me. The peppers are homegrown by me. I make a bang bang sauce of mayonnaise, sriracha, and chili sauce for the zucchini cake. So aside from the sriracha, the mayonnaise and the sweet chili is grown by me, made by me. So it really kind of becomes its own home cooked meal or homegrown meal. Thing that I've done that I wasn't super successful at. We might try them again this year, depending on what my fall potato harvest looks like, was homemade pierogies. So we'll see what my harvest looks like. But I've made pierogies and I've frozen pierogies before. And what I really love about making your own pierogies is I was able to add things to them to make them my own. So I was able to go and get, I did a sauerkraut pierogi. That was delicious. And I did a pepper jack cheese pierogi. I really love me some pepper jack cheese. But you could stuff these pierogies with whatever you wanted and make these pierogies entirely your own. They froze great. My problem with the pierogies is I didn't get the dough thin enough. The dough was way too thick. But that's another great option when you have potatoes coming in. Potatoes are really cheap right now because they're all coming in, or maybe they've already been harvested, I guess, at this point. But that's another great thing that you can buy, make and put it in your freezer for future use. So I hope this video was enough to give you some ideas of some ways that you could maybe start making some things from scratch, or buying things from a local farmer's market and putting it back into your own freezer or your own pantry in order to make your life easier, your life cheaper, and your life healthier, to be honest. It is a lot of work, but once you kind of get in the swing of it, it does get easier. You can kind of make up the rules as you go. Spend 1-2 hours on a Sunday and make all the jam you need for a year. Just have 3 pots going: blackberry, strawberry, raspberry. Have them all, or mix them all together into one big batch. But have them all going, can them all at the same time, and in one afternoon wipe out your whole jam needs for the whole year. If you start slow and start in maybe smaller quantities, maybe just do jam this month and maybe next month you do salsa. But you can really build up your stores fast. And right now, there is still so much coming in from the garden. You can still get produce super, super cheaply, that if you haven't thought about starting yet, I highly recommend you start. So the question at the end of this video is, was my garden successful? Did I get enough to feed myself for the next year? And I will say that in previous years, my garden was more successful. I think not getting the tomatoes this year and not getting the broccoli and my own cabbages. I think I got 2 cabbages of my own. I did freeze them as shredded cabbage. But those things really put a damper on my garden. But what I did get that I normally don't get is I had a great corn harvest. I've never had corn grow before. And I did have a big patch, but in that big patch, I got about, I think, 2 dozen ears. I think I ended up, once I kind of trimmed everything down, I think I got about 18 ears of corn that I froze as whole corn in the freezer. So when I'm ready to enjoy that corn, I'm just going to get it out, and in the wintertime have a nice corn on the cob that was grown by me. So that was a huge success. I haven't harvested my beans or my potatoes yet. I can see the number of beans I have in my plants. I think that's going to be a good success. And then my sweet potatoes, I think, is going to be an awesome success as well. The plants are huge, so I'm really crossing my fingers that I get a nice harvest from them. We got a ton of our cherry tomatoes this year. I've never had this many cherry tomatoes, so I think that was a great success. And then our beets this year were entirely homegrown by us. Typically, I do supplement my beets from the farmer's market, and this year I didn't have to. And not only did I have enough to can, I also had enough for fresh eaten. I made a lot. I think I made 3, which isn't a lot, but I made 3 roasted beet and feta cheese salads, which was delicious. So, like I said, I typically don't get to eat from the garden. I talk so much that my microphone died. So luckily I realized it right as it died. So what I was saying when I noticed that my light was no longer on was, this year I got to eat from the garden fresh, which I don't typically get to do. So I ate a ton of tomato caprese salads. I ate a ton of those roasted beet feta salads. I ate stuffed peppers. I ate fresh cauliflower. I had a good amount of cauliflower coming in, so I was able to eat fresh cauliflower. I ate a lot of snap peas. I ate a lot of asparagus. This was a great asparagus year. So I was really able to do a lot of fresh eating this year, which was exciting. So was the garden the greatest success it's ever been? No. Was it successful? Yes. I keep telling myself it was successful. And it was. I still have food that I was able to put back. I have a lot that came in. I have a lot more coming in still. We're not done. I still have a lot of green beans, sweet potatoes, and beans that are coming in. I have my fall potatoes. I did do a fall planting of zucchini and a Napa cabbage. I only have 1 Napa cabbage left that the slugs didn't get. So I'm excited to get those things in. But while this wasn't the most successful garden year I've ever had, there were some things outside of my control, like the slugs. like a drought. However, I still think I had a very successful garden, and I'm still going into winter knowing that I am fully prepared. And I don't feel bad that I had to supplement some things. I did buy some things from the farmer's market. I don't feel bad about that. It takes a village, and so while I am somebody that I want to do everything on my own, I want to do everything myself. I realize that's not always possible. So sometimes you need to allow yourself supplement, to allow yourself to have help, allow yourself to let the village kind of reach out and do what the village is there for. So I'm excited about going into this winter. My house is prepared. I just did my yearly grocery store delivery. I guess like just pantry ingredients. So at this point I'm doing a massive grocery haul. My massive grocery haul is only about $250. But that is to get me everything I need to kind of last for the next year. So is it specific? No, but I buy a lot of flour. I buy my soy sauces, my rice wine vinegars, my lemon juice, my sesame oils. I buy all those things and its ingredients, and I put them back so that as we go into winter, I don't need to run to the grocery store that often. I have a lot of the stuff what I need. I have a lot of what I need. I will go to the grocery store to get sour cream or milk, or maybe I want some ice cream one day. But when it comes to doing the big grocery pickup, I don't do that too often. So I like kind of closing out summer, going into the fall and winter, knowing that my house is the most stacked that it's ever going to be, and we can kind of just eat off all of our stores for the next 6 to 9 months. So if you stuck around with me this long, kudos, this was a long video. But I just kind of hope that you see the importance of having the stores, whether you grow it yourself, whether you buy it from the local market, whether you are slowly just doing it one thing at a time, whether it's you're slowly learning to can, or you're just putting some extra things in the freezer, or maybe you're starting to look into making your own bread. Start just one thing at a time and see if you can't do one thing at a time to make your life a little easier, a little cheaper, and a little healthier. And I started 5 years ago. I've drastically cut down my grocery bill. And I think I'm a much healthier person, and I'm definitely a much happier person. Thank you guys for sticking around. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.